Hello, my fellow readers. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky. Today is another roundup for the first week of October 2025. Let's start with what I read this week, or what I finished reading this week. I finished one book, and it was this, Death Comes for the Archbishop by Will Cather. This book was published in 1927. It is a series of vignettes about two priests who go to the American Southwest to set up churches and missions amongst the Mexicans who had just been annexed by the Americans after the Mexican-American War, and amongst the Indian nations, the Navajo, the Zuni, the Hopi. So it's historical fiction written in 1927, looking back at the 1840s through the 1880s, and it is brilliant. I really enjoyed this. I'm going to put up a full review here in the next few days. I gave it 4 3/4 stars. For Poetry Thursday this week, I put up a reading of a poem from this collection of cowboy poetry. I read Bruce Kiskadden's poem, which was published in 1927, if memory serves. It's called When They Finish Shipping Cattle in the Fall. One of the first cowboy poems that I heard recited, and one that means a lot to me, and means even more as I grow older. I also started a new series of poetry this week. On Fridays, I'm going to post some poems that I'm reading from the Victorian era as part of the BookTube Victober event. I read 3 poems out of Child's Garden of Verses by Robert Louis Stevenson. The 3 that I read this week are The Swing, The Cow, and My Shadow. So I posted earlier this week, I posted a full review of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, an incredible book that I thoroughly enjoyed and went into quite a bit of detail in reviewing this book, so that review is available. What am I reading right now, you might ask? I am reading D.E. Stevenson's book, Anna and Her Daughters, published in 1958. D.E. Stevenson, and I can't remember what the D and the E stand for, but she was a cousin of Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a story of a woman and her 3 daughters who are mostly grown, at least older teenagers. Their father dies and they have no money, so they move from London to Scotland. That's as far as I've gotten so far, is that they're just moving to Scotland. Where's my bookmark? Where's my bookmark? Oh, it's right here. So I'm just barely, about 10% of the way through. What's up next? Because it's Victober, and because I'm trying to read more of the books that I have on my shelves, another Robert Louis Stevenson, because he fits right in there in Victober. He was born and died during the reign of Queen Victoria. Of course, he was Scottish. So I'm reading The Master of Ballantrae, or I will read it. That'll be my next book after D.E. Stevenson. I've never read that novel of his. I only purchased one book this last week. I spent a whole $3 on the collected Jack London. It is this thick. Pretty good. 4 complete novels: Call of the Wild, White Fang, Martin Eden, and The Sea Wolf. That makes sense. And then it has short stories including To Build a Fire, The Winter Silence, In a Far Country, and the memoir, John Barleycorn, for $3. That ain't too shabby. Who put this together? This is a Barnes & Noble edition. And there you have it. There's the roundup of what I've read, some of what I posted this week on the channel, what I'm reading now, what I'm reading next, and the single purchase that I made. Be watching for the Willa Cather Death Comes for the Archbishop review. That will be up soon. Of course, we'll do a Tag Tuesday. We'll do a Poetry Thursday. And we'll also do the special Victober Poetry Friday. I'm going to try to do those every Friday this month. So 2 days of poetry and a whole bunch of other stuff. Till next time, thank you so much for watching. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky.